God's love is so other-centered. It is so not about him, because he was here before. He could have just gone on forever, but he said, let me just make something that looks like me.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Woman at the Well. I am your host, Carla Compton. It is indeed my pleasure to have you stop by and watch my videos. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for joining my podcast. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do so, or share it out to your family, your friends, your loved ones. I think it'll be an encouragement to them. But we're not going to prolong the time. I have a very special guest in my studio today. I'm so excited to have her. And as you recall, I've started the series where I'm talking to different women about their Woman at the Well journey. And so today it's not going to be any different. So we're going to hear her story today. So family, help me welcome to the studio for the first time, my friend, Jocelyn Shokai.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
Jocelyn.
you for having me.
You're so welcome.
Yes.
And so before we get started, I just want to kind of tell the people, who you are, at least to me, and then I'll let you tell a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
All right. And so Jocelyn, also known as Joy, I called you Jocelyn all the time.
Yeah.
I never called you Joy. But I met her many, many years ago. That had to be it had to be more than 25 years ago.
Yeah.
We actually worked together at Travelers, United Healthcare,
Metro Health,
all that. Right. Because of different acquisitions and all of that. But I met her, and it's like we clicked almost immediately.
Yeah.
We had different backgrounds, but we were still drawn to each other. And you became a very, very dear friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And one thing about you is that I noticed that the Spirit of the Lord was on you and in you. And I admired you so much. Even at how you took care of your family, and you were making stuff from scratch, and you were cooking and doing different things. And, y'all went to I remember y'all going to the lake a lot,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so I just remember those things about you. You're a very good mother, a good woman, a good wife, a good
Praise
Christian.
God.
And so it's been my pleasure to know you. So thank you for the friend that you've been to me.
Man, thank you. Thank
so tell us a
you.
little bit about yourself. Who is Jocelyn Shokai?
Well, let me just tell you, even before that, I was enamored of you before I met you, because of the way they spoke of you when you were coming back to work. And I said, I have to meet this Carla. That everybody was we had questions about this one. Can this one come back? Can that one come back? And when your name came up, there was no in the house. And I was like, I have to meet this person.
Oh my God.
So I was just ready for you when you came in the door. So yes, we clicked before we clicked.
All right, okay. All right, I remember you telling me about that.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes. So, and I am a wife of David Shokai, love of my life. He still makes my toes twinkle. And I am a mother. We have 5 children, 4 boys and 1 girl.
Wow.
And we have 8 grands now.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I know. 8.
Okay, we got to catch up. Okay.
Yes, 8 grands, and no pets, no animals, just us. We are empty nesters, so we're just doing life together.
Yeah.
And life and ministry and all of that, working and living life, serving the Lord together.
Yeah. How long you guys been married?
This is 33 years.
33?
Yes, we've been together 38 years, but 33 years married.
Honey, you don't even look like you're old enough to even. I mean, really. Kudos to you and
God.
David.
Thank
Man,
you.
that is
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah.
33 years.
33.
Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Yes.
Well, Jocelyn, so we're going to get to know you just a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about your childhood and what that was like.
Okay. So I will say I had 2 childhoods. I had an idyllic childhood. Grew up in a family that was so filled with love and music. We literally sang, would break into song to deliver a message or, to tell what's going to happen in life. Yeah. And I grew up with my mom and my dad. My parents divorced when I was in 1st grade, I think. Okay. 1st or 2nd grade. And my grandmother came to live with us, came from the South to live with us in the city. My mom was a nurse, and we just grew up with a lot of good words and music, lots of books and reading, and storytelling was a big part of our lives. My grandmother was a major storyteller. I used to spend my Saturday afternoons with my mom reading to her. And I still love to hear. I love to have people read to me still today.
Yeah.
So idyllic on one side, and then a whole other side that was traumatic.
Yeah.
But it was kept away from me by God. So, yes.
Okay. We're
So
definitely going to
that's
get into
a
that.
short story.
Okay. We'll definitely get into that.
Yes.
And so I met your mom.
Yes.
I met her. I remember we all went to a cabin together. I think that's the first time I actually met her.
Yes.
And I guess you had told her so much about me. It's like we knew each other,
Yes.
you know. And even then we were singing, and that was a good time. I forgot you
Lots
and
of
I. Lots of singing there, and you and I sing together and stuff. We gotta
Still
do that
waiting for
again.
that
I know
repeat.
we're gonna definitely do that. So tell me what it was like for you as far as Jesus and Christianity, all of that church. How was that introduced to you as a kid?
So I grew up, of course, as I said, with my mom and my grandmother. My grandmother had a Baptist background. My mom was a Seventh-day Adventist. Mm-hmm. And then in the summers, when we would go every summer to go and spend time with my dad, so we were Adventists all year long, and then in the summer we were Baptist. So I never attended an Adventist vacation Bible school.
Oh,
so
wow.
I always went to, as they say in the South, Bible meetings. And just,
Yeah.
So there was a strong presence of the Lord. I saw God work in the lives of the people around me. I saw miracles happen. I saw where the women and the men gave of themselves so much that you knew what it was like to see somebody in need and be able to empathize with them and come into it with them, not for anything grandiose, just, you knew ministry. We knew ministry from the beginning. And that was a blessing and a saving grace for me in so many ways as I went through my life. That I could come back to that train up a child. Mm-hmm. It really showed itself so often in my life. So I got to see scriptures come alive, which was just amazing.
Awesome.
So I still I could King James that's a king. Oh, we can get
right.
Yes.
Okay. And so you had given your life to the Lord even at a young age.
At a young age.
Okay.
So God spoke to me all through my young years, all through. I mean, literally, I could hear him speaking, go this way, do this thing, believe this, don't follow this, so peer pressure was not a major issue for me because God was literally very often talking to me. And at the age of, I think it was 10, I got baptized. And I was so upset when I got baptized because other people got baptized at the same time. I've never wanted to be part of the crowd. And so I didn't want them to do it. I didn't want them to do it because I was doing it. Okay. And I didn't want to be a part, I just wanted it to be, this was my decision.
Gotcha.
And so I made a decision and then other people followed. And now I can see, I struggle with some issues in my years. So now I can see that it was just the blessing of influence. Yeah. So that was helpful.
Okay.
And, So,
all right. So you was around 10 when you
10.
Were baptized.
When I was allowed to. I believe I wanted to be baptized before that. But Mommy was just like, she wanted to make sure that I was making this decision.
Good job,
and
Mama.
I wanted to make sure also. So I'm like, somebody's doing it. I'm like, not this time. Gotta wait. I didn't want to do it when they did it to that person. So,
right.
Yeah.
So tell me what that journey has been like for you, just as a Christian period. Christian girl, then Christian young lady, Christian woman.
My decisions were colored by my belief.
Okay.
So there were certain things that I just was not going to do. Mm-hmm. And if I made a decision to do something, it wasn't like a slipping. Lots of times it wasn't slipping into something.
Okay.
It was very clear.
Okay, just made a decision.
Paths were
Right.
very clear. What I shouldn't
Yeah.
do, and so as a child, I was taught to teach. My grandmother taught. My grandmother had a third grade
Wow.
education.
Aw.
When I went into school, she didn't want me to go to school. She didn't want any of us to go to school because she said we'd go to school and get dumb. So, because she had taught us so much. So, drill
Wow.
and listening to stories, learning how to learn, learning how to listen, learning how to
Yeah.
understand, and then being happy and proud about what we knew.
Yeah.
And so that stuck with me. I loved learning. And I'm very extremely talkative now. A lot to say. But that was not me growing up. I
Okay.
was extremely, I won't say I was shy, but I still haven't figured a word that will fit that, because
Okay.
I was bold to speak and don't let it be in somebody, somebody going through something. I was quick to speak up for somebody else. I was, it was good. I was born and young during that, because I was born in the civil rights, at the end,
Okay.
same year Martin Luther King is killed.
Okay.
So had I been older, I might not be here, because I might have done something. But I was in, first grade, second grade, standing up for the people, standing up for injustice. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. I didn't know what all that meant. Just don't be mean to people.
Right, right.
Just be nice. And so but it was all because I knew. And my mother told me over and over. My grandmother told me stories. My dad, and though he wasn't a religious person, he wasn't in church, he wasn't reading the Bible that I knew of, but he made sure that our interactions when we were in the summer, we couldn't go just anywhere with anybody doing anything.
Okay.
It had to stick with the beliefs that we had, to honor the beliefs that my mother was believing and putting into us. So
Wow.
that was important. Teenage years, it was the same. I put myself all the time, so I'm kind of, happily, uniquely me and irritatingly me sometimes. It just depends on the moment. Yeah, but Christ,
Yeah.
His word, Him speaking to me, has saved me, has kept me and pushed me forward. And
Okay.
it kept me from going in certain directions as well.
Okay.
So it was a very good barrier, protective shield that I
Right.
had.
And you had a good foundation, though.
I did have a
You have
good
a very
foundation.
good foundation. So that kind of sets you up to be great, honestly. There's a lot of people that don't have that type of
Yeah.
foundation, where your mom and your dad, although they're separated, they're still working together to make sure that the right things are instilled in
Yeah.
their children.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome right there, because
Yeah.
it seems like you've been saved all your life.
If only I always act like that.
It seems like, at least you had the word. You've been influenced by
Yeah.
the word all of
Yes.
your life.
Yeah.
And so that's what has helped you to become who you are today.
I believe that very
So let's
much.
get a little bit deeper then.
Okay.
So I know that you've gone through, and everything hasn't been perfect, although that
No.
sounds beautiful,
I
everything
said
that you
it's 2
described,
lives.
right. But then you also encountered some things,
Yes.
you had some traumatic experiences. So
Yes.
kind of walk us through that.
So from a young age, probably before I started school, I was molested. There would be people who, in our apartment, we lived in an apartment, and people who would, oh, your mother wants this, or they want to do, lure you into something, just touching, inappropriate behavior. I developed fears.
Yeah.
I developed fears at a young age. I don't know if I was just going to be a timid person. I think I probably wasn't because of where I am now.
Yeah.
But many things changed because of that. It changed my idea in, like I said, idyllic life on one side, and then very traumatic, turbulent life
Yeah.
on the other side. But the two were separate.
Wow.
So very separate. And that was a gift from God. Because whenever, and I can't remember it back as far as 3 or 4 years old. I remember being molested back then, but I can't remember God speaking to me in that same way. But I can remember my mother just being so caring and loving. So she was the voice of God at that point. And in the summers, my Aunt Virginia, oh my word, what a woman. I was sure I was going to grow up and just be exactly like her. And she just had better moves than me and just a whole, but she was that voice in my younger years. And then later, as things continued, because the abuse didn't stop, something terrible would happen. And then God would say, remember this, I'm going to use it. And then he would take it away. I'm like, this God is, it's like, you're telling me to remember, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
But I wasn't trying to hold on to it because, like I said, I could separate so I could live. And then there would be moments that, those things would happen, but it didn't color everything.
Okay.
It was a major part. It played one of the most overwhelming parts of my life, but it didn't take my life, if that makes sense. So it wasn't, I still got to laugh and play and do goofy things and have stuff like, that you regret, like, oh, did I really walk out of the bathroom with something hanging? Or, we get to laugh about it now.
Right.
Or, and have those silly moments. Yeah. And it wasn't all trauma, but it was, it was very difficult. Yeah. It was very difficult from such a young age up until I was probably close to 20.
To 20?
Before it stopped, yeah.
So it started when you were like 3 or 4 years old?
3 or 4 years old.
Wow.
A long time.
First of all, I'm just so sorry that happened to you. Yeah. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
I'm sorry that people live in the world and they,
a lot of sick people.
They don't have God.
That's
the prominent force.
That's it.
In their life. It's whatever you think of doing, you do.
Yeah.
And it's just that selfish. Because God's love is so other-centered. It is so not about him because he was here before. He could have just gone on forever. But he said, let me just make something that looks like me. Let me put something into it. Let me share part of myself.
Yes, thank you, Lord.
And create a Jocelyn or a Carla or whomever, and see my reflection.
That's beautiful, actually.
So, yeah.
That's
just
beautiful.
Really, but not everybody allows him to work.
That's definitely
in their lives.
So up until age 20, and that's when it stopped.
Yeah.
Okay.
I moved away from home after I graduated, and I guess it was before. So I graduated, I think I was 18, 19 when I graduated. Mm-hmm. And once I finally moved away, it stopped completely. Mm-hmm. And I moved to Connecticut, and I moved in with my husband. So that was just, the dark days. That's my Aunt Evelyn said when I told her I was moving to Connecticut, and I'm moving in with my husband, and she said, "So you're just gonna be shacking up?" And I said,
that's that word, shacking up.
What am I gonna say? Yep. That's where we are. So, but at that point, that's when it completely stopped. And I was in a safe place with a safe person. My husband was just amazing. But so many things had happened to that point. I don't know how he has stuck with me for 38 years. Because at some point, life and memories hit me so hard that I could go to work. Mm-hmm. I could come home and I could sit and not move. But then he would do something. We'd get up and we'd move around. We'd go somewhere and we'd go to the park. We'd go to the water. We'd go and do something fun. And he kept bringing me out of those moments. And I had, my family, my sisters, Jennifer, I called her one time and I'm just losing. I'm crying and I'm just, because the memories, as I told you, God said, remember this. I'm going to use it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't remember those things. So if somebody had asked me throughout my life, have you ever been molested? Mm-hmm. I would not have said, yeah. But it had been happening from multiple people for years. Mm-hmm. I would not have been able to say that. But then once I moved away And for many people, once you
Yeah.
move away and you get to a place where you're safe, that's when the memories come back.
Right.
That's when things start to come to the bubble up, because things that you're stuffing down is going to come up.
Right.
It's going to come up. It's going to come out in different ways.
Right.
And for me, I wasn't going to do too many things that were wild and crazy. That was just not my way. So I wasn't
Yeah.
walking too far away
Right.
from church, from
Yeah.
God, from what is
Yeah.
right. I was never saintly, but there were just certain things I wasn't going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when the memory started coming, it knocked me off my feet, and I could only wanted to cry all day. I only wanted to just weep and wail. But it started with music. I started remembering this. I called my family, and I'm like, "Do you remember this song?" And they're like, "What? Do you remember this moment?" They don't remember. And so all these memories started to come back, but it came back musically. Every song that I had ever heard from my childhood started to come back from little bits. Oh, I love music. Music. And it just started to come back. But the memories were associated a lot with a musical moment or something that way. And then the memories of different things started to come back. And then the full ugly parts of the memories came clear. And that is what got me. So I got on the phone calling. This is when you have to pay by the minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I called my sister, Jennifer, in Georgia. And I'm just telling her all of this stuff. And Oprah Winfrey was, in her height. She'd just recently gotten syndicated. And
Yeah.
she said, I'm telling her all this stuff. And I'm just crying. And she's like, "You're a fruitcake. You're a nutcase." And she's talking and she's laughing. "You just need to go on Oprah." And I'm like, "You're not helping me." But it made me laugh, and it made it, it just took some of the edge down, and for a moment. But it was a very, when the memory started to come back, it was very rough. So I lived my life a lot of times just close. I didn't let too much happen happy, because I could go too far too low. So I remember one time I was so upset because I was at a family function. I was so excited to be there. And I had to step outside because I was getting too happy.
Jocelyn, wow.
I was like, I can't afford that, because the high,
baby,
you drop down as low. You got to get back. And there was there was so much in between. So things that I've left out. During this time, I was molested, as I said, for years. I ended up getting pregnant by one of my molesters. And he had molested me from the time I was 10. I was 16, and I got pregnant. And the moment that I got pregnant, and I will tell you, this is how God speaks to you. The moment, the second that seed dropped,
okay,
he was like, "You're pregnant."
Wow.
And then the pronoun changed to we.
Oh.
He said, "We are going to have an adoption. We are going to take care of this baby." And it was just the baby. We didn't know girl or boy.
Yeah.
We've got a home. We've got a family prepared for this baby.
Thank you, God.
And we're going to take care of him or her. And everything's going to be okay. So in that moment, which was one of the worst moments of my life, one of the most frightening moments, I heard God speak to me like he had done in so many other times.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, we've got this covered. It's going to be hard. You can do this. You're brave enough. You've got this. We're going to do this." And he helped me to keep it a secret, because I didn't have the ability to say no.
Wow.
Because that had been taken away from me years ago. I didn't know that I had that in me. And when I did, girl, I started saying no for everything. Somebody said,
You found your no,
somebody
huh?
said, "Can I have Jennifer?" Jennifer was the one, she asked, "Can I have a piece of gum?" I was like, no. All the time. I'm opening it up and handing it to her. But I said no. I remember that was the first emphatic no.
Yeah.
It was like, "No, you cannot have this piece of gum that I'm giving to you." but I'm just practicing
Practicing.
saying no and knowing that I had the right and the ability to say no. But I didn't know that when I was pregnant. So
Wow.
I had to keep it hidden, which hurt my heart because I did not. I told my mother a lie, a bold-faced lie for the first time.
Okay. What was that lie?
She asked me if I was pregnant.
Okay.
And it was a bold-faced lie because I didn't tell her no,
Okay.
but I put a separation between us because I didn't tell her that I was, and I knew I was. And I was away at boarding school. I got pregnant before I went to boarding school.
Okay.
But I went off to boarding school, and it hurt me because Mommy did not have money to pay for me to go to school, all of that. But she had determined this is what the Lord had told her to do, send me
Yeah.
to this school. I was like, Lord have mercy. I don't know. And we had to go shopping. They prepare stuff because the school was like an hour and something away from home.
Okay.
And I'm staying on campus. It's a boarding school.
Okay.
And so she bought me sanitary napkins, a big box of the good stuff.
I remember those
Always.
big boxes. Yes.
Always.
I remember those
With
big
wings.
boxes. Yes.
And I know for some, some folk that might be a little bit too
Right.
much.
I know.
But to understand
Yeah.
that sacrifice, and I had to sit and look at that box in the top of my shelf, knowing that I would never use it because I was pregnant.
Jesus. Yeah.
But that was I didn't tell anybody else. Anybody else ask? I told them they're because they look. Sometimes you could see I still wore my Gloria Vanderbilts the whole pregnancy.
Uh-oh.
Because it didn't. The mind is amazing, so I didn't show
Wow.
until after I finally told Mommy that I was pregnant.
Okay.
And then within 2 weeks, it was like whoosh, the belly came out. But when I would lay down, you could tell. You could see
Okay.
that. And people would ask, I'm like, yeah, I'm pregnant. And they're like, you don't even have a boyfriend. What are you talking about? How are you pregnant? You don't even
Yeah.
get, you're not that kind of girl.
Right.
It's like, well, I'm not, but I am pregnant.
Yeah.
And that was a hard thing for me too. Because I'm like, why is it once it came out, like why weren't people flocking to me to say, what happened?
Right. That's my question.
I had not had a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I was not boy crazy. Now I hung out with the boys. We were riding bikes. We were climbing trees.
Right.
We were riding dirt bikes. We were, we're doing our things, playing softball.
Yeah.
Whatever, climbing a mountain. But I never had a boyfriend,
Wow.
and it didn't click. And I was like, why didn't that click to somebody? And this is, people have ideas about people, and they, they allow it to color their thinking. Now it clicked to Mommy because Mommy asked, and she was just like, something's off. And I don't know if people dreaming about fish.
Yes.
And I am not a superstitious person.
No, but I dreamed about fish last night. Somebody pregnant.
I have to believe that there's something there, and I have to just chalk it up to connections that you have with people. And this is just culturally, this is what happens. But when I was at the boarding school, I worked in the cafeteria. I was very close with Mrs. Owens and Mrs. Thomas. And so I was a junior chef. I was a third in command.
All right.
And when we went home for winter break, she called Mommy, and she said, I believe Josh is pregnant. She called me Josh. So I believe Josh is pregnant. She said, I've been dreaming about fish like crazy. Now, for her, it's not strange because she's literally a deep sea fisherman. So when we come down every once in a while, we come and see the fish, fish this belong with the sword, something sticking out.
Yeah.
I mean, all kind of like, what in the world? But she said, I've been dreaming about fish. And she said, I've checked with all of my girls. And Jocelyn's the only other girl that I would have this connection with. So you need to check because I believe she's pregnant. So, and she's been eating ice like crazy.
Oh my goodness. Eating what? Like
ice.
Ice. Okay.
I had
you
to have
crave ice? Oh my God.
constantly. Yes, my insides were literally heated. I was hot.
Wow.
And so Mommy finally, she talked to me, and then I admitted that I was pregnant. And
is that when you told her about the molestation?
no,
Okay, still didn't then. Okay.
had a baby. it wasn't until after that, because I was having breakdowns, just losing it. We had gone, I had the baby. I had a C-section, and I had a doctor, Dr. Smith. This man was a marvelous man of God, and he prayed because he knew I was going to give the baby up for adoption.
Mm-hmm.
And he prayed that I would not have to push that child out and then give the baby up. So she was born breech, and I had to have a C-section.
Wow.
And this was the answer to his prayer, because he said I didn't want that. He put me on when I had the baby, he put me on a floor. He didn't put me on a maternity floor. He put me on a floor. Actually, across the hall was a prisoner, police guards outside the door. But that was good, because it kept some folk from coming and try to get real new.
Okay, well, that's good.
Ignorant. But
Wow.
I had the baby, because she was just a baby for 18 years. The baby. And I've never cried so much in my life as those days when I was in the hospital. And they came, because I arranged, and I said it, I'm Seventh-day Adventist. And I said I have two things that I have to have for this adoption in order for it to go through. It needs to be a Seventh-day Adventist family, because I believe what I believe, and I want her to have that opportunity to make that choice for or against it, but to have that available.
Okay.
And also had to be a black family, because I got some rough hair, and somebody who knew how to take care of her hair. So
That's your request.
this is it.
That's
I am
funny.
5 feet 10 inches tall.
Yeah.
I did not imagine that she would be a little shorty. I'm a big girl, and I wasn't that big at that time. I'm way bigger now than ever. But I was just, when you're big and nappy headed, and with and people, and I've seen where I grew up with kids who were so loved, black kids adopted into a white family, but their family was afraid of a hot comb, bubble curlers, relaxers, braids. So this beautiful girl and her brother, I mean, they had such a beautiful heart, and they were so loved. They were so loved. Yeah. Confidently loved. But they walked around and their hair looked a mess, and it embarrassed them. And I was like, Lord, I want my child to have that same kind of love.
Got it.
With good hair.
Right.
Got to cover the hair. So God did take care of that. And she was brought up in a family. She was so loved. She's spoiled rotten, beautifully rotten. Yeah. She ain't stinking nasty rotten, but she's rotten. And so I had her, and I met her when she turned just after she turned 18.
You met her?
I met her for the first time.
When she turned 18.
Yeah. So even in the hospital, I didn't see the baby when I was in the hospital. I knew that I couldn't. I'm very visual. Yeah. So I knew I couldn't look and then see that for the rest of my life. Okay. Because I did not have any thought that I would ever see her again. I had hope, but I never had a thought that it would really come to be. And so I was a nerdy, wonderful kid. So I read journals and read about the connection that babies have with their relatives, especially with their mother. So I'm like, she's not going to this, baby's sight is about this, what's 6 or 8 inches. Yeah. When they're born, it's perfect. It's a perfect sight, which is about the distance between you and as you're breastfeeding. Wow. And so I was like, she's not going to have that, the baby. We found out, of course, finally, when she was a girl. But, so my family said, you guys have to go in there. You have to love her. You have to let her smell you. You have to let her know you so she doesn't feel disconnected completely. She has to have that acceptance that connection brings. And they did. They went all the time. And I didn't know that Jennifer, my fighting sister, I didn't know she was a fighter until years later. But she was friends with my molester. Really? And I finally told her who the father was. And when I did, she beat him up. She put him in a car. She brought him to the hospital. Wow. And she made him look at his child and let him know, you will never walk through this life thinking and be free to know that you've done this. And our friendship ends
Wow.
today because
Jennifer.
you messed with my sister. You took
Wow.
advantage of our closeness. You took advantage of our family's interactions, closeness, and
Yeah.
you messed with my sister. And every day of the year, he started messing with me when I was 8. He's 8 years older than me. Every day, every single day, he's 8 years older than me.
Oh my goodness.
And so there was no consenting or anything.
No.
And she let him know. I didn't know that for years. She never told me
Really?
for years that had happened.
Oh my
And
goodness.
then fast forward to the October before I met Cicely. That's my daughter.
That's her name.
So the October before I met her, my body, what they say, the body remembers, the body doesn't forget. There's a famous book.
Yeah.
But my body started to mourn for her, to weep for her. And from sometime in October until March, I cried every single day. And the tears just fell. I couldn't stop them. I couldn't control them. And when I was in church, it was worse because everything to me is better when we're in church and we were there just worshiping and serving. But it was really difficult.
Yeah.
And it was maybe February that I finally figured out what the issue was. It was just that it was coming up on her 18th birthday. And I had a desire and a hope that I would get to meet her. And so...
Why 18? What was happening? Is that when the records will be open? Or did you already know the family that had her or anything at that time?
I did not. My mother, I had asked her if she would keep in touch with them as much as possible.
Okay.
My oldest sister, Jeanette, kept in touch. I have wonderfully supportive family. So they did things that I could not do.
Okay.
My sisters, I have 3 sisters. 3 that I knew at the time. I have one other one. But they were there. They comforted. They talked through. They talked about. They didn't make it a silent thing.
Okay.
You know, we laughed and joked and did all of this, and it was real for us, and that was such a gift to be able to talk about it when we did, or not talk about it. And so Jeanette had been keeping pictures. Jeanette and Mommy had kept in touch with them until the baby was 3. But then her dad was just like, it's too hard to keep going. But they did tell her from the beginning that she was adopted. She knew. And that she was very loved. They told her, you're not a throwaway kid. You are loved. You come from love. The decision that your mother made is one that's made out of love.
Oh, that's
good. I had never met with them, never spoken to them. And then, as I said, in that February, before her birthday is April. And so that February, when I finally figured out what it was, then they're like, I'll call, I'll do this. Like, no, I have to do this myself. I have to call myself. I have to make this decision to call and to contact the adoption agency. Just to see, let them know that if her family sees that it would be acceptable for her, and only, there's no force, there's no pressure, nothing that would make it uncomfortable for her. But if her family said yes, then we'd be open to meeting the family and getting to know them. And I talked to the lady, the woman who had done the adoption initially. She had retired. And so there was another person who had taken over the case, and just when this was coming up, she said, I'll reach out to the family, I'll get back in touch with you. She went on vacation, it seemed like for years. So we're waiting for responses. Finally, her birthday comes. She's 18, and 18 because at 18 you're an adult and you can make this. And then there were also, it's important to know your medical history.
Right. Okay.
So that you know what to watch out for, how to care for yourself, to know certain things. And so we wanted to make that available at that time, even if we didn't have any contact.
Got it.
And so we finally, after me being all my bravado, I got to reach out to them myself. I was like, Mommy, can you call?
Yeah, that's how we do.
Yes. Yes. So she had made the call, and finally, they said, yes, the family is open to meeting. And so we gave the number. We always kept Mommy's phone number the same all through those years because we said if anything
Just in
happens,
case.
we want them to be able to call back to that same number, records to be the same. And so every summer I would go to New Jersey to stay with my mom. She cared for developmentally disabled individuals. And so I would go and stay in her home and do respite for her or for other people to take care of their individuals. And so I was there doing that. And they were having a revival at my stepfather's church.
Okay.
And at that time, he was just my mother's husband because I couldn't. We had issues and attitudes. Oh my word! Praise God for growth.
Yes.
But so they were at his church, and my boys were up there visiting as well, and so they had gone out. They had gone out to the church, and my husband was in town. He would come to town for his job to go for training. And so I had talked to my mom, like, can I borrow your car? I want to go up. We'll spend the night there with my husband and the boys and us together, and then we'll be back. And then all of a sudden, my stepfather was like, oh, I need to use a car. And I was so mad at him, and we were just mad at each other. And we worked past that by grace, God's grace. But so
Brother Manley,
I was like,
right?
Brother Manley.
I still remember that from all those years ago.
Yes. So they went off to the meeting. I was like, I'm going to stay home because I was having an attitude. And I was like, I'm going to have my attitude at home by myself. So I was in the house and in the kitchen. That's where life and beautiful things happen.
Yeah.
In the kitchen. So I went in the kitchen. I cleaned up, had the light on. The lighting was nice. And I was just sitting there having my moments. And just by then, my attitude was gone. And I was just sitting and just enjoying. The sun had set and this house is sitting in it was just beautiful. Yeah. And get a phone call. And the phone rings and I pick up and they ask, a little hesitantly, may I speak with Johnny Manley? And I was like, oh, this is her daughter. She's not here, no, my best phone voice. Right. And, but can I take a message or something? And she said, she paused again and I was like, oh, this is the call. I knew at that moment.
Yes.
And she said, it was so cute. She said, I think we adopted your daughter. And I said, and I am so grateful for you. Oh. And that was the first words that I had with my baby mama.
Your baby.
I got a baby mama.
Good. That's good.
And Lord have mercy. She's the most amazing, beautiful woman. Lord have mercy. She is what I dreamed my daughter would have. Yeah. And we found out that, at those points, for me, that it was daughter. So then she became, not just the baby.
So you didn't know until that moment that it was?
I knew. No. Okay. I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't. Mommy knew. My family knew because I had looked at pictures in the photo album, and we put pictures side by side of my daughter and my sister's daughter. Jeanette's daughter, Alicia.
Okay, yeah.
We put those side by side, and it's almost the same exact shot, almost the same hairdo, but you couldn't tell one wasn't the other. Juicy legs, the little bobby socks, and the whole, so many things that looked so similar. But I didn't know that I had seen those pictures. And finally, Mommy removed them from the photo album because she didn't want to take a chance that I would begin to catch, this isn't the same person. But we talked that night. Her mom and I, Janet and I talked for probably 2 or 3 hours. Just talking. Wow. So I was so grateful that that attitude that I had kept me from going, that I did miss the call, and that we had all of that time to just talk on the phone. And so I told her, well, I didn't want to push in anything. I'd love to meet her and find out. And I write a lot as I'm talking. Okay. So I'm sitting there writing, and that's what I was doing as I was sitting in the, the nice lighting and the comfortable kitchen. And so I had a pen and paper there, and as she's talking, I'm just writing stuff that she's saying. And so I'm asking, well, what is her name? So I was going to name her Shantae Monique. So when I was in boarding school, I was taking French, and my roommate's name was, I had Carolyn
Okay.
and Monique. So Carolyn is not French, and I wasn't going for Caroline. So I
Okay.
was like, okay, Shantae Monique. Wanted something cute,
Yeah.
cutesy, and with an accent. And so I wrote down Shantae Monique. I wrote down my name and this, and so she's telling me her name. Her name is Cicely. When I was writing it out, I had my name written, and I wrote her name underneath, and I saw that the letters were lining, so she had part of my name, and I have part of my Aunt Evelyn's name, because I was supposed to be Jacinda. I was supposed to be Evelyn first.
Okay.
And, I was supposed to be Jacinda. And my dad was like, no more J's. And then Mommy decided she finally got him to come around. And so they were like, well, before that, it was like she wanted to name me after my Aunt Evelyn. So he was like, you can name me Evelyn. I was like, no, don't do that to a child. And so they came up with Jocelyn Wanda. And so I'm writing it out, and I'm seeing Cely. And that's part of what I have from my aunt. Well, I have ELYN from my aunt.
Wow.
And then I'm lining
Jesus.
that up. And it's just so beautiful. And I was like, wow, still the same initial, CM.
Wow.
I was like, God, you are
Look at
so
God. So amazing.
right?
Oh my gosh.
So then,
thank you, Lord.
I told her, if you guys think it would be okay, I would love to speak with her. And if she would be open to it.
Okay.
And so she called back later that night.
Cicely did.
Cicely. And when you hear scripture, here's scripture that says, fulfill my joy. Mm-hmm. I've always loved that term.
Yeah.
And I had my joy fulfilled when I spoke to her and I heard her voice. And then I had to ask 2 questions.